that is really, really important to all of you. I've had countless questions about it in the past few weeks and even months now, and so I wanted to make sure that I show you, I lead you through the thinking process on how we think about the liquidity and the price. All right. So first, we talk about the constraints. So here's the thing, folks. It's important to understand that if this blockchain is going to succeed in its business objectives, it is necessary for there to be resources, human resources, capital resources, and those human resources are building things, promoting things, and planning things, etc., in order to execute. That costs money. It's just that simple. I mean, I know a few people in the Discord say, oh, why can't everyone volunteer? Well, find me a person who is highly qualified, who has the knowledge and experience to execute on something like this, that is willing to work for 50, 60 hours for free. Bring them. Bring their resume, bring them. If it's you, come on over. We'd love to have you work for free. But that's not how it works in the real world. People who are professionals at what they do, they get paid. It's that simple. So we estimate that in order to achieve the plan that we have set out, it's going to be a burn rate of roughly about 150K a month. That's what we need. But that's actually on the lower end of things. We have a higher burn rate, which would allow us to actually maximally execute on the business plan. But let's say that 150K is the floor. And let's assume a 12-month runway. So that's a constraint we have also. We don't want to assume a very short runway. It's going to take a little bit of time to execute on this. So we have a 12-month runway. Then we're going to have wrapped VITRU, since currently no exchange can handle rebases. So there is not going to be a scenario where VITRU as a coin is going to appear directly on an exchange, at least right away. Maybe in the future, we will work with exchanges and we can figure out how we can handle rebases. The main problem is, and just to be clear, right, on a centralized exchange, it's not your private key, right? You have a username and a password, and the exchange has all your crypto. It's pretty much you're at their mercy. So the VITRU that's there, the rebases that occur, you would never get them on a centralized exchange unless the exchange was benevolent and said, oh yeah, we're going to give our users the rebases. I don't know exchanges to be benevolent. They are not. They're going to keep those rebases. So it is in everyone's interest to make sure that we don't have VITRU listed natively on an exchange unless there's a protocol in place to have the rebases go to the users, because otherwise you're not getting the rebases. So that's the main reason why we cannot do it. And so we'll have wrapped VITRU. So with wrapped VITRU, what's cool is rebases are not in the equation anymore. When you buy or sell VITRU on an exchange, you get it and you pop back in and into a non-custodial wallet, and you've got your rebases. So it works very well that way. So we estimate that listing plus liquidity, the constraint, the floor is around 500K. And I'm calling it WVITRU for right now. We probably might change the name on that. So don't think of WVITRU as the symbol and all of that. It's not. It's just a placeholder for right now. And then we estimate about 250K listing plus liquidity for VITRO, which is the DEX token. So that's also coming. It's just later in the schedule here of things that are occurring in the next couple months. All right. So what I've done is, as I promised, I have created 4 scenarios for liquidity. Let's look at each of them and understand how they work. So the scenario 1 is where we get to $2 million in booster sales. So currently we are a quarter of the way there. So there's some work to be done, but we have the next month to achieve that goal. So if we do that, then we would be at a monthly burn that is below our floor. So we would be unable to execute on all the plans. We would have to greatly cut back our ideas and our vision for what we want to do, but it's workable. We can get something done and get the 12-month runway. The VITRO liquidity put at a 250K, the base, and the VITRO liquidity at 550K, the base. So if we do this model, we would arrive at a price target of $2. Now, we can't have a price target below $1.50. It doesn't make sense. We are selling boosters at $1.50 right now. It doesn't make sense to immediately go and list at a price below that. Then that's not palatable by most people. So that gives us a market cap of $120 million. So that's the first scenario. If we don't achieve our full goal and our constraint, even the $2 million, we still have ways to go, right? We are 25% there. We have to get to the 2 million. But this is a viable first scenario. The next scenario is if we get to $3 million. All right. So now we can move our green column to the right one and get to the monthly burn of 150K. And the Vitro liquidity stays the same. Basically, you'll see in this model, what I'm doing is the burn funds are deducted from the overall, and then the remaining gets put into the Vitro liquidity. That's basically how it works, along with a little bit into the Vitro liquidity. So the Vitro liquidity goes up by 50K each column as we go. So 150 becomes viable. If you look the column on the right, the two columns, they're not viable, right? Because the price target will be $1. It won't be matched, and the price target at a 250K burn rate is impossible. We don't have enough money to support that. So if we raise 3 million, then we have a model where we can have a burn rate of 150K, 12-month runway, and a $3 price, which gives us a market cap of $180 million. All right. Next scenario, if we get to $4 million, now we had a monthly burn of 200K. We can achieve that. And we've got Vitro liquidity at 1.25 million. And then we can target a $4 price. So as you can see, the price is almost exactly tracking the $1 million raise price. So each million, we increase the price by $1. And so the market cap is at 240 million. And last, if we can achieve our stretch goal, which is $5 million, then that's the best outcome where we can actually execute on every one of our goals efficiently, put this capital to use to really, really, really grow things, expedite things very well. And then we would be tracking a price target of $5. And if you remember way back in July 20th, when I first presented the strategic plan, that was the target I had in mind, $5. So this is how we get to that target, is if we can get our get to $5 million, we can get to the scenario where we have a $300 million market cap, a price target of $5, and really the ability to execute and kick ass. So now, what is it going to take to make this price sustainable? Because it's one thing about planning liquidity and all of that for a certain price. I'm not interested in really just having a listing done, liquidity there, and having token listed there, and the price dies, right? We want to be able to grow that price. So what are the factors that go into it? Well, there are 4 factors as I see them. There is economic activity. So what is the economic activity that our blockchain can generate that essentially gets people excited? Because when you have a protocol that's generating economic activity, it gets the attention of people. Now, we can't control that. We can't control how much people spend, how much collectors spend on art, etc. But what we can control is the creator activity. So that we can control. We can essentially create programs, campaigns, marketing, etc., to incentivize creators. And when they are on here and they are creating amazing artworks, etc., it impacts the economic activity. So we do have, so the horizontal axis is things we can control. So creator activity is one thing we can control. The other thing we can control is ecosystem partners, right? By getting the right partners into the mix who help us get more transactions on there, get more eyeballs in here, we impact the economic activity. So that's our indirect way. So we have creator activity and we have ecosystem partners, and both of them together influence the economic activity. The last thing we can control in here is the broader crypto market. We are part of we are just along for the ride there. So we can't control that, right? but those other three things, we can indirectly control them. And this all, the whole liquidity scenario, the price of the token, etc., is all impacted by this. So if you're thinking, for example, I know if you're like, if you haven't participated in building a startup from ground up to the point where you have customers, to the point you have revenue, to the point you're scaling up, you don't think about the capital requirements, right? You're like, just put everything into liquidity and be done with it. Well, if we don't build things, we don't market this, etc., which requires capital, it doesn't happen for free, then that token is going to perish. We don't want that to happen. We want it to thrive in a big way. And so creator activity, economic activity, and ecosystem partners are a key to doing that.